In this video, I just want to share with you my first 30 days on a T3 only medication for my thyroid issues. Here's a quick refresher on the thyroid and medication options. Your thyroid makes two key hormones, T4 and T3. T4 is like a slow-burning log, steady and long-lasting. T3 is more like jet fuel, fast-acting and powerful, but it does burn through quickly. Your body is supposed to convert T4 into T3 to keep everything running smoothly. When someone's diagnosed with hypothyroidism, most doctors prescribe levothyroxine. That's a T4 only medication. The idea is that your body is going to handle the conversion from T4 to T3 on its own, but not everyone feels better on T4 alone. That's when some people try combo meds like Armour. It's made from pig thyroid, which contains both T4 and T3. What's much less common is a T3 only medication like Cytomel or Liothyronine. It's usually reserved for people who've already tried everything else and they're still not feeling well, even when their labs might look normal. They're still exhausted, still foggy, and doctors don't know what else to do. T3 only isn't easy to get. Most doctors won't prescribe it or don't know how to dose it properly. If you're in that boat or you just need some support, I've created a T3 only support group on Reddit. I'll put a link to it down below, and I really hope that you'll join. Even if you're not on T3 but you're curious about it, everyone is welcome. For a little background information, I personally didn't know that I had thyroid problems until around 2010, and for the majority of the time since then, I've been on Armour thyroid. I've tried other things to, improve my health and improve my thyroid function. I also have Hashimoto's, which is very, very common as an autoimmune disorder. And for me personally, as soon as I went fully 100% gluten-free and dairy-free too, but it was mostly the gluten that impacted my thyroid health, I no longer had antibodies against the Hashimoto's. After that time, a lot of my symptoms went away, but I was always left with fatigue. I was on these medications, I was raising the amount I was taking. I've also tried low-dose naltrexone, and for a period of time, many years ago, it was like a miracle for me. It made the biggest difference in the world. It improved my thyroid function, it improved my energy, my sleep. I needed it. I don't know how to explain it, but if you don't need it, maybe you're gonna take it and have no benefits from it. So more recently, I decided to try it again, and I experienced almost nothing from it. So everybody's different, everybody's gonna have different experiences, and I'm curious about what has worked for you over the years. Has something worked for you? Are you feeling great on your dose of thyroid medication? Do you have Hashimoto's? I'm just curious about all these different factors and all these things people are dealing with, and also about the diet, because I think the diet is so important when it comes to thyroid issues, at least according to doctors who I've spoken with. And many doctors have said that you need to get off the gluten and you need to get off of dairy if you want to have the least amount of issues with your thyroid problems. And just for me personally, that is what has worked for me. That has been true in my case. But like I said, everybody's going to be different, and so there's no one size fits all, so I don't expect that. All the symptoms prior to me giving up gluten and dairy were quite severe, and it was very debilitating. And so I've tried different medications. More recently, I ended up trying a compounded medication that was very T4 heavy, and I was hopeful about it. And I was excited to try something different because for some reason, it seems like the Armour thyroid, which I've been on for forever, it just seems like it's not working anymore, and I'm on a high amount, yet it's not working. I had a horrible experience to levothyroxine many years ago as my original and first medication, but I was open-minded with the compounded slow-release medication, which also I believe was a mistake. It was very heavy in the T4, which my endocrinologist thought that was appropriate, like she thought that would help me. And so I ended up taking this compounded medication, and you guys, I had the worst experience of my entire life on that medication, and I lasted 45 days. I was dying on that medicine. I have never in my life been so hypothyroid, having every classic symptom of the most severe level of hypothyroidism. I cannot even tell you. If I were to go off the medicine for a day, I would feel better than when I was on it. It felt like it was poisoning me. I almost lost my work client. I lost the ability to function. I was laying on the couch like all day long, falling asleep over and over and over and over again. And I tried to wait. I tried to hold out and wait it out. She said, I believe that, you know, it takes time for this to work. It takes time. And I understand that. So I couldn't wait anymore though, because I was like ruining my entire life and I was so desperate to feel better. And so I contacted my old doctor who I had previously seen, who was the most helpful, most knowledgeable doctor that I've ever met and ever talked to. And also, there's no hard feelings for this endocrinologist. She was trying to help me, and I believe she would have continued exploring other options, but I just couldn't wait around. I had to go back to my doctor who I knew could help me like faster, and he did. So I contacted him. He did suggest that I try the Armour again and just raise the dose. I did that for a period of time and did not feel well. And also, I just want to say one other thing. When I was on that compounded medication, numbers and labs can be very deceiving, because lab work was done and it showed improvements in my T4 or my T3 or both. It slightly went up. But I have never ever been so hypothyroid in my life. So I don't care what those numbers say. There's something very wrong going on there. And so I started watching some videos, and Dr. Weston Childs is very open in talking about T3 only as another option, which very few doctors will ever talk about. And I'm sorry it took me a while to get to this topic here, but I wanted to give you some background information. And so I saw some of his videos, and they gave me a little bit of hope. Like, there is another option. There is something else that could potentially help me. And in this process, maybe, was it like 4 months ago? I'm not quite sure exactly when this was. I ended up looking more into my genetics, and I've had my entire genome sequenced, and I ended up looking into the most important mutations associated with your thyroid function. I did a quick little video on this. I also have a blog post that shares them in detail if you want to know which ones they are. And I ended up checking mine, and I have a pretty significant mutation called the DUOX2 mutation. It's highly associated with congenital hypothyroidism. And people who have this can have difficulties in converting. And a lot of people know, you know, there's T3 and there's T4, and T3 is the active thyroid hormone. T4 is kind of the background hormone. It's there when you need it. It's a slower release kind of thing. With the T4, it's supposed to convert to T3 and help you to function properly. And some of us have issues converting the T4 to T3. And I believe that that is my issue. And my doctor, my endocrinologist, did take it seriously that I have this mutation. And so she was raising my medication amount when she had me on the compounded medication, but she was giving me more T4. And I just kept getting sicker and sicker. When it comes to my experience so far, I've been keeping a daily log, and I recommend this if you ever switch medications, especially to T3 only. So I started out taking 5 micrograms in the morning and 5 micrograms about 4 hours later. Okay, within a few days, I raised the dose slightly. I was being very careful. Every time I would raise the dose, it would just be by like half a pill or 2.5 micrograms at a time. So after, a few days, I ended up taking 7.5 micrograms in the morning. 4 hours later, another 7.5. And then 4 hours after that, I took another half. On that day, it was a few days after I started taking this medication, I noticed a slight improvement in my mental clarity and alertness. So this was the very first time I noticed a positive effect from it. I really didn't notice it the first couple of days because my dose was so low. And every single day since I started taking it, I've been keeping track of everything on a daily log. I wear an Oura ring, which tracks my heart rate, and it tracks my sleep stats, it tracks my activity levels, my body temperature. All of these things are very useful and very important when you're trying to track your thyroid medication as well. So I highly recommend it if this is something you're thinking about getting. I've been using that to keep a log, and also when I'm keeping this log, I'm writing down every time I eat, every time I take my medication, how I'm feeling, giving little updates, because you have to be really careful with a T3 only medication to titrate the dose as needed. You're going to need to play around with the dose a lot more than when you're on Armour thyroid or a T3, T4 combination medication. And here's the other thing to keep in mind. I just want to say that if you're experiencing brain fog and lack of mental clarity, I truly believe it's often related to being hypothyroid, because as soon as I have enough T3 in my system, I am sharp and I am clear-minded and I do not have any of those issues. And I think that's important to keep in mind, because so often when people feel that way, they reach for a cup of coffee, but you're masking a problem that you could be having within your body. So anyway, I continued taking it, and I'm not trying to recommend this to anybody. The way that I've been titrating it up might be a tiny bit faster than some people do it, but everybody's going to be different, and it depends also on, you know, some people feel like they need to work very closely with the doctor. My doctor is quite laid back when it comes to this. I personally prefer that, where I'm the captain of my own ship and I need to really keep track of things and be careful, and I'm responsible for what I'm doing. So he's there if I need him, but really I need to be titrating as needed. There's something else very important to keep in mind when you start on a T3 only medication, is that you're still going to have residual T4 in your system. And until that is cleared, you're not really going to know how your body is going to fully react to this type of medication. And some of the struggles that you're having could be a result of the residual T4. And it can take weeks. It can take 6 weeks for some people to get it cleared out of their system. There were a few times, like especially over the last 4 days, where I wasn't raising the dose enough. I wasn't on enough, and I would be falling asleep multiple times a day, just feeling really groggy and really tired. Today is not one of those days. I decided to step it up a little, be a little bit more aggressive, and raise my doses a little bit, and it made the world of a difference. I feel extremely clear, extremely focused, and energized. And in addition to that, like when you're keeping track of everything, just keep an eye on your heart rate, your resting heart rate, your HRV, see how things are going, see how your sleep is doing when you're taking this stuff. Everybody's doses are going to vary so significantly. Some people take a strong dose in the morning, and then some people only take it once a day, some people take it 4 times a day. And when I am on the right dose, I feel very mentally clear, very sharp. I feel energy. I feel good. As long as my sleep is good, my diet's good. Those things play such a big role in how you're going to feel. So we can't put it all on the medicine. I hope that it gets better and more stable over time. I think it cannot be super stable until the residual T4 is out of my system, and then I'll really know what I need, how much I need, and I hope that I can stabilize my dose a little bit more. This I have felt the best on so far, but I haven't felt the most stable on it, because it's funny how I can go from feeling fine to falling asleep. So I really hope that things stabilize soon, but the biggest thing is why that's happened so far. To me, what I've realized is that I was underdosing myself, because sometimes I'm afraid to raise it. They say to take a couple weeks on one dose, but the truth is, you guys, everybody's an individual, and if I waited 2 weeks on every single dose, I would be non-functioning. So that's how much I personally need to keep an eye on the dose, and if I'm not feeling it, I need to take more. Otherwise, I'm struggling. So for me, I've raised the dose much faster than that, and I haven't followed any particular order. I try to hold the dose as long as I can, but if I am repeatedly falling asleep and my heart rate is low, I am going to raise the dose again. So if you're curious about how much I'm taking right now, some people ask things like that. As of today, I've taken 37.5 micrograms, and that is the max I've ever taken. And honestly, I feel the best that I felt in the longest of times, because I was being really careful and really stingy with the amount that I was taking before. I was taking closer to 30 micrograms, and today I just bumped it up a little, and I had some slight concerns of overstimulation and pushing myself into becoming hyperthyroid. you know, with the heart racing and stuff like that, but I had zero symptoms of it. I just feel really great, really clear-minded, and I'm having like good energy. So we'll see how it goes. I really appreciate you watching. I know this was a rambly video. If you have any questions at all, please put them down below in the comments section. I will do my best to help. Thank you and take care.